Hey y'all, what's going on, and welcome back to another video. So I know it's been a while since I've done a video. There just hasn't been anything interesting going on in the collection, honestly. I'm trying to focus on breeding the specimens that I have and then raise up everything else that I do have that either I'm not interested in or I don't want to breed. I'm raising them up until I know either what sex they are or what I want to do with them. And that's what this video is going to focus on. There is only one sex tarantula in this whole video. All of the rest of them, they're basically temporarily here until I can find new homes for them. But they all need bigger homes today, so that's what this video is all about. There is a melting pot of species here, so it's chock full of different species of tarantulas. Hopefully we get a good look at every one of them. This could be an interesting video for the viewers, or it could be a good smooth video for me. Either way, I'll try to entertain you as much as I can, but also to educate not only to keepers, but maybe to people who just aren't really into spiders, but they're into these videos. Maybe they'll learn a little something about these animals, and it'll kind of break down those walls, those stigmas that everybody has, that if it has 8 legs, especially if it's furry, that it's a bloodthirsty beast and it's out to harm you. Now, having said that, there is one notorious species in this collection over here that I'm going to rehouse today that there's a lot of that hype that goes around about them. They're probably one of the most notorious in the hobby, especially for moving. Hopefully I can dispel all those fears for some new keepers who may have this tarantula that they're afraid to deal with, that I can show that they're not as bad as you really think they are if you know what you're doing. I'm an experienced tarantula keeper, but I don't claim to be a professional. So I'm not going to say I'm a professional. Don't attempt this at home. Quite the opposite. If you're a tarantula keeper out there and you want to get into new species, it's all about learning. We don't automatically know how to do this, so you just learn, and hopefully, you learn from your mistakes, and your mistakes aren't that bad. I'm hoping this video is going to go pretty well because I'm pretty good at doing this kind of stuff, but who knows? I'm going to try to give you a look at each one of these animals, so we may have some runners that I have to recapture. I don't know. But other than that, hopefully it's going to go pretty good. And with all that being said, what I'm going to do is take everything off the table, pick one candidate to start with, and we're just going to start from there. Let's dive right in. All right, so here we go. Let's kick things off. I thought I would start with something fairly simple. This species right here is a hobby staple, arboreal, and it is extremely popular amongst beginner and experienced keepers alike, and other people as well. Most notorious for its drastic changes between its colorations and its appearance between when it's a sling to the fact that when it grows into an adult, they never become any less beautiful. Unfortunately, with tarantulas, some males, once they molt, that final molt, they're not as pretty as they used to be, but they're still beautiful. But this is one of those species that just never stops being beautiful throughout its entire life. I did have a female, one of these species, a few years back. I sold it. I've regretted it every day since. I am going to go ahead now and reveal this one. This is the Carabina versicolor, the Martinique pink toe. I've been in the hobby long enough that when I started the hobby, these were still classified as avicularia rather than carabina, but they are in the pink toe category related to the avicularias. At this point, most of you already know how beautiful the spiderlings are of most pink toes, especially the Carabina versicolor, that beautiful bright electric blue. Just absolutely stunning colors. Obviously, the easiest and most obvious option here would be for me to put this thing down in here and try to poke it out. But with some of my experience and some of the things I know, and the fact that I would like to give you guys a little bit more of a look of this tarantula, I think I will flush it out of its enclosure, put it into a catch cup or what I call a transfer container. Then we'll put it into its final home for a little while. So you'll notice that I have this tub set up and I've got wadded up paper towel in each corner. What I'm going to do, Carabina versicolor and avicularia are not defensive. They're not super fast, but when you do get them out, and get them moving, it's hard to get them to stop. They like to walk. So this thing's probably going to want to get out and walk, and I'm going to let it do that. But these things here, these are hides, okay? So most of these tarantulas, when they get out in the open, they don't want to be in the open, so they're looking for the first shelter they can. So they will hunker behind, things like the corner of a paper towel. Obviously, this one doesn't want to come out. And then there it goes. Don't move, spider. Hang on, guys. So this is what I was demonstrating. It's not bolting at all. It's just kind of curious and wandering around. It's actually going to go up the side of the enclosure. So I'm going to go ahead and get the designated catch bottle out for this thing. Get it in there, and then we'll put it in its new house. But can you see why this specimen is so popular in the hobby? Especially as a sling. They are just so gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing contained before it decides to run. Alright, so as I said or predicted, it went into the corner behind this paper towel right here, and hopefully I can move this out of the way. And we'll take this bottle, get it to go in there. That was off camera, but that would have been a really good tip for experienced, newbie keepers, especially with arboreals that want to run. It started up the side of the enclosure, but I was a step behind it with this little catch bottle, and I was fortunate enough to cup it against the side of the enclosure and get it contained, and now it wants out, obviously. So we're not going to stress this one too much more. We're going to move on, put it in its new home, and be done with it, because we've got a long way to go. Alright, so this is a demonstration of what I was talking about with the carabinas and the aviculaриas. Once you get them moving, they don't like to stop. But this does give you a good look at what the carabina versicolor sling looks like, which is absolutely stunning. If you haven't seen an adult, it's even better. I'm going to pause now, try to get that thing back in that bottle so I can get it in there, and let's move on. So here we go again. This thing has decided it wanted to rehouse itself. It's still on the move, and I'm just waiting for it to walk into that enclosure, and I'll put the top on it, and we'll be done with this one. But this is what I was saying when I was saying that they like to walk. So let that be known to anyone that has to rehouse avicularia or carabina versicolor. They like to walk, and you have to be careful when you're closing them off their enclosure like I did there. I waited till it went down inside the lip of that cup, and then I gently laid that top down on top of there. I did not snap it down because its little feet are... Sorry about that, y'all. I accidentally hit the pause button. So you can see I got the versicolor in there, and you see what I meant by they like to walk. You've got to be gentle with these guys when they go to walking like that, and I waited till the spiderling was inside the rim of the cup, and then I just laid the top down on there. I didn't snap the top down because its little feet are right there, and we don't want an accident. Ask me how I know, but this one's done. Let's move along. Alright, so we're up in the ante a little bit with this next one, y'all. Not only is this one an an arboreal, but it's also an old world. I ruined that. They are known for having potent venom, and a lot of people say that they're fast, they're defensive, yada yada. It's all an experience. This is an absolutely stunning species. I will go ahead and reveal now. This is the Poecilotheria vittata, the ghost ornamental. This species right here is from Sri Lanka, and max size is 7 to 8 inches, so they're one of the larger of the Poecilotheria species. In my experience with the Poecilotheria, most of them are some of the most laid-back arboreals, or even just old world arboreals that I've ever dealt with the exception of a couple of species that tend to be a little bit flighty, but this is not one of those. So hopefully we can get a good look at, I've got 3 of these, we can get a good look at all 3 of them, and they won't give us too much of a run for our money. I'm going to keep this thing out and over here, but I'm going to try to keep up with the theme like I did with the Versicolor, and maybe I can flush this thing out, cup it, and then use the cup to transfer it. Obviously, a lot of this stuff that I do, you want to be experienced to do. You can always put the enclosure, old enclosure, into the new enclosure if space will allow. Obviously, in this case, it does not. So what I'm going to do is just flush this guy out, hopefully, and we can get a look at it. In my experience as well, Poecilotheria are usually reluctant to leave their hiding places, but if they do, it's usually pretty easily, just like that right there. Nobody move a muscle. We're going to zoom in and get a look at this thing, and then we're going to put it in its new house. Get a gander of this tarantula, y'all. Is it not gorgeous? And this is again proof that not all tarantulas are all schizo, psycho, bolty, defensive, and whatever. It's all in how you interact with them and how you keep them. You notice I never forcibly force this spider to do anything, so it's still completely relaxed. So, I mean, that's just a tip for experienced keepers. Just use a gentle hand like you would with a woman. So what I'm going to do now is put that cup back on it, and then we're going to poke it down in its new home, because it has two siblings that need a new house along with several other tarantulas. Let's go. All right, y'all, here we go. Let's move this P. vittata. I'm going to demonstrate the cup and scoop technique, which is not only handy for tarantulas if you're a keeper, but also if you're an animal lover, but you have an unwanted spider in your house. This is one of the easiest ways to get it out and to where you'd rather have it. You can see this cup I have right here, bottle, is appropriately sized for this species, and it has holes punched in it strategically, and those you will learn through experience. So now what I'm going to do, I've got it in the narrow end of the bottle, so I'm going to loosen the cap on here, point the narrow end of the bottle down in here, and the tarantula should go right down into the enclosure. I have done this probably hundreds of times before, but maybe somebody out there is new and has never seen this before, or if you're a keeper who's a little bit leery about moving arboreals or whatever, and you've heard about this but you don't quite know how to do it, all it takes the whole time, like I said, is just a gentle hand. You don't want to really force them to do anything. Just give them a suggestion, and a lot of times from there they'll take the hint and do just about what you want them to, like that little guy did right there. Now it's in its new hide. We're not going to talk about or look at it anymore because we've got more animals to move. All right, we got a quarter of these animals rehoused. Let's move on. This one is a sibling to the last one that we moved. It is also a Poecilotheria vittata. I have 3 of these. The next one I rehouse will not be a vittata. We will move on to another specimen, but this one is, like I said, a sibling of the other one, and I believe this one and the other one are about due for a molt just because they're quite plump. So they should be due for a molt pretty soon. What I'm going to try to do here in this case is get this piece of cork bark out, and then just knowing Poecilotheria and how they do, she or it or he will probably just hunker down into the corner, kind of like you used to do as a little kid, and you were laying in bed and you thought you heard a monster. And you thought, if I cover myself up and I don't move, if I can't see them, they can't see me. Well, that's what a lot of the Poecilotheria do in my experience. So as you can see, or you probably can't see, it's down in the bottom corner of the enclosure. Once again, I'm just going to lay the enclosure down and give it the suggestion that perhaps it wants to come out and stretch its legs, because it's obviously starting to outgrow this enclosure. And as you can see, this one naturally just wants to come out on its own, maybe, or just explore the entrance. No, here we go. Typical pokey behavior. It's going to run inside. It's going to fight me for a little bit. Instead of boring you guys, I'll come back when I get it out here in the open. All right, so here we go. This is Poecilotheria vittata number 2. And this is what I said. I thought it might be in a pre-molt, judging by how plump its little booty looks. And so this was probably, the timing on this was probably just about right, putting it in a bigger enclosure to give it more room to grow. I'm hoping that this one and the other one, just knowing what I know and their growth rate, are females, and the one that I rehoused just a while ago is a male, but I won't know for a while yet because I haven't gotten any good molts. But again, we're going to do the same thing that we did with the first vittata with this one. Cup it, scoop it, move it. All right, y'all, here goes nothing. Like I said, it just takes a gentle hand, which I wasn't as gentle, but you can see if anything's in frame on the camera that I'm still taking a delicate approach to anything I do and not just frantically trying to cup something or whatever, because then that's what gets animals smashed or hurt. They lose a leg or whatever. Like I said, ask me how I know. So this one promises to give me more trouble than I thought it would, but I'm still experienced enough. It's not going to give me too much shit. So now that I've got it in there, what I've got to do is invert it nose side down here into this enclosure, and hopefully I can just poke it right straight into that cork bark right there, and it doesn't decide to make a run back up this way. Hopefully we can convince it to continue to move forward right down into the cork bark. Nice and easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's move on to the next one. All right, y'all, let's switch back to New World. This is another Carabina versicolor, the Martinique Picto. I forgot with the first one to say the common name and the scientific name and where they are from. These tarantulas right here are from the Lower Antilles Islands, predominantly from the island of Martinique, hence their name, the Martinique Pinto. Again, they are notorious in the hobby for their drastic changes in coloration and appearance between spiderling and adult. I think we're going to just continue with the theme of flush it and cup it. This one right here had quite a bit of webbing up on top, and it looks like it may be in a pre-molt, excuse me. Once again, I think we may have intervened just in time to give it some more space to grow, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and pull everything out. And like I said, if you do everything nice and gentle and don't poke and prod on the animal too much, force them to do anything that makes them uncomfortable, you don't have any problems with them. You see this one's right down in there, hunkering down in that webbing, again, not moving, thinking if I don't see them, they can't see me. I forgot where I put my catch cup for this one, so hang on just a second. Okay, so in this case, this thing, I think, like I said, is in a pre-molt, so it's already in a delicate stage, and you can see how it's hiding. It is pretty stressed. So I've got this little wad of webbing that is created around the vial that it was actually shipped in. Obviously, there are so many different techniques for rehousing and moving animals, and everything works different for everyone. And a lot of people, especially in this case, will take this enclosure and the webbing and everything once it's obviously comfortable with. And I am just going to gently lay that right down in the cup and let it be and not stress it out anymore. Let's move on. All right, y'all. So this next specimen is actually kind of special to me, and it's also the only terrestrial that I have in the hobby, and it's also the only sexed tarantula that I have. So obviously, we know the future of this little lady right here. I'm just looking for a mate for her. Unfortunately, this rehousing may be a little difficult because she has a cork bark, but she has been bulldozing and moving substrate, moving furniture in her enclosure for months. She's been needing a new home for a while, so it's time to give her a bigger space because she likes to dig and she just got no room to dig in there. This is the Pseudhapalopus species Columbia. The common name is Colombian blue bottle, Colombian blue bottle, or Colombian purple and gold. This is an absolutely stunning species of tarantula, as the name suggests. It's from Colombia, and that's what I was afraid of. I moved all that cork bark and all that substrate that she had dug up and fell down on top of her. So now let's see if we can get her out. She's been needing some room to spread her legs for a while too, and I want to get a good look at her, get an idea of her size. Short little bolt, and she's done. Let's move her back over here. I've rehoused her once, I believe, in the past couple of years, and she's always been okay. She's out in the open and she doesn't like it, so she wants to be undercover somewhere. This is obviously probably, in my experience of keeping, probably one of the slowest growing tarantulas that I have raised. This girl right here, I got as an absolutely, hold on guys. All right guys, so here's a look at my female Pseudohapalopus Colombia, the Colombian blue bottle. Unfortunately, between the light and the camera, I just can't find the right angle to do any justice to the metallic purple / blue that's on her abdomen right there. So I can't give you that good of a look at her, but I got her calmed down. You can see now she's not wanting to run. This is a dwarf species, so this tarantula right here would probably get 3, maybe 4 inches in diagonal leg span. She's without a doubt one of the slowest growing tarantulas I've ever kept. I've had her 6 or 7 years, and she's just now the size that she is, but she is absolutely stunning, and for the most part pretty laid back, as you can see. Let's go ahead and get her in her new house. Okay guys, here we go. This does a little more justice, although it still doesn't really do justice for this spider. It's an absolutely stunning species, and again, like I mentioned, it's the only one that's special to me out of all of these. This is a female that in the near future I would like to seek to breed. Obviously I won't be getting rid of her, but I've got her in this catch bottle. Now we're going to transfer her. Obviously the first thing that we'll do, like always, is take the cap off. Find our convincing tool, usually a straw or something soft, just in case they decide to be defensive and try to bite. They don't harm their fangs. And this girl right here will probably, this is probably her temporary, I mean not temporary, but permanent or forever home. Obviously I may add some more accessories later on, but in my experience, most of the time those are unnecessary. In my experience with this girl, she's been more fossorial, so she's going to settle into this skull. I've had several of these skulls. They're an aquarium skull that you can get at Walmart. There's no harmful chemicals or anything in them because I've been using them for years. And some of my more fossorial, New World terrestrial species, if that makes sense, prefer these things because there's many entry and exit points and a good safe place for them to hide way deep down in there. You see there's a water bowl in there, in which I keep for most of my terrestrial tarantulas. In my experience, the arboreals don't really require them as much, just as long as when you do your weekly maintenance, you do some misting, but you can also put a water bowl in the bottom of their enclosure if you want to. That being said, let's move on to the next one. All right, y'all, so here we go with another Poecilotheria species. This is another old world arboreal. I am relatively new in keeping this species, so I don't have as much experience, but in my experience, they are like 90% of the Poecilotheria that I've already kept. This is the Poecilotheria formosa, or the Salem ornamental. These guys are from southern India. They're also a fairly large Poecilotheria species, getting 6 to 8 inches in diagonal leg span. Obviously that depends on the sex of the tarantula and the age. Some of them will get bigger than others, but they are absolutely stunning. That was a little bit of a mistake on my part, but as you can see, once again, another tarantula that, because it's fast and has potent venom, they are just overhyped. This one is running into the corner where we can't see, so hold on. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let me see if I can demonstrate what to do if you get a tarantula out, especially a fast or arboreal tarantula, and it wants to run on you. First of all, you got to find it, and I didn't see it move, so I suspect for some reason, sorry for the train horn, that it ran under here. Don't go anywhere, guys. Alright, y'all, so it did what I said these tarantulas would do, just not in the spot that I wanted it to. There's a little bit of a fold here up against the side of the tub there, and it decided to go right underneath there, so I'm hoping now I can just, there you go. I don't know how much of that you can see, but as of right now, obviously the most important thing is for me to safely contain the animal, and then we can work on the shot. Alright, y'all, so this one's pretty chill. It's just kind of walking. It's not like skittish or stressed out or anything. It just won't stop moving. I'd like to give you a good close look at this thing before I put it in its enclosure. Once again, another gorgeous Poecilotheria species. And you can see, again, by the way I'm handling everything, my experience. The tarantula jumped. It's right over here. You just have to know how to, you see how it's running from corner to corner. And that's why we put the paper towel in there, but because I'm trying to cup this one, we don't have the paper towel in there. And obviously every time this thing bolts, it just goes to a corner and stops and does not go up and out. I was really trying to give you guys a better look at that animal, but I don't want to stress it out anymore than that. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke it in this new house, and we're going to try to finish up this video. Alright, y'all, so in the midst of trying to contain the damn thing, I missed the money shot and it decided to rehouse itself. So unfortunately, we're not going to get a better look of my Poecilotheria formosa than that. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, y'all, so here we go. This is Poecilotheria vittata number 3. This is the third and final of the P vittata. Another one that I'm hoping is a female. That's what we're going to do. Stick with the theme. This one's actually right up front. As you can see right there, all hunched up. Again, I believe it may be actually, now that I look at it, you can't see it, but there's a molt right there. So I wonder how I should approach this. You can see the foot of the molt right down there, and then the tarantula right there. Maybe I can convince the tarantula to go down a little bit. Let's go ahead and pull that molt out. I may not be able to sex that, but here we go now. I said this is the third of the Poecilotheria vittata. I'm now going to try to pull this cork bark out and get this animal out, all while keeping it on camera, not trying to harm the animal or stress it or anything like that. Off camera over here, I have a smaller tub on the floor that I'm using for stuff like this that I pull out of enclosures. I just fling it over here to the side and drop it down. Now this thing really has no place to hide, so I'm going to try to flush it out without stressing it too bad. Get one little good look at it, and then we're going to put it in its new home. Alright, y'all, here we go. Let's see how this one does. See if it wants to come out and let us get a really good look at it, or if it's going to be a typical pokey and try to do the exact opposite of everything I want it to. They hunker down. They're like, if you've ever dealt with donkeys, they're the same way a lot of times. If they don't want to do something, they're not going to do it, and they will put their feet down just like this guy right here is demonstrating, and they will not do what you want them to. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get this thing out on camera, but I will get it out and let you get a look at it. Okay, y'all, so here is the last Poecilotheria vittata that we have to rehouse. This is the second to last tarantula. Get ready, guys, because the next one is the big dog, the most feared, the most dangerous, the most toxic, the most defensive, the fastest one in the hobby is coming up next. Again, I'm trying to demonstrate here. You see the way I have everything set up. They have places that they can go and run and hide. And through experience and just reading the animal's body language, a lot of times you can just kind of guide them to where you need them to be. Hold on, guys. I got my hands full. All right, y'all. I'm done fooling with this thing, so it's time to take this cap off and convince that thing to go down the cork board, because I'm tired of chasing it. I will say this about Poecilotheria metallica: they are overhyped as far as their flightiness and even their defensiveness and things like that go. But I will say that I have kept 8 or 9 Poecilotheria species, and 90% of them I didn't give that one time to get into its cork bark, so now I have a Poecilotheria on my hand. Easily 2.5 to 3 inches. With a little experience, I knew where the spider wanted to go. Got my lid set up and ready to go, and inside it goes. We got one more left to go. This is the one everybody's been waiting for. Let's get it! All right, y'all. So as promised, up next is the most dangerous spider that I'm rehousing today. One of the most notorious in the hobby for being fast, being defensive, being willing or prone to bite. I've read a lot of stuff. A lot of it, you know, like every other thing in the hobby, is obviously high, but I have actually known personal accounts of people who have had trouble with this particular tarantula right here, and I don't know if anyone with an experienced eye can get a look at it, but this is one of the most feared tarantulas in the hobby, especially when it comes to things like maintenance and rehousing, because apparently they're really fast and defensive and always want to whoop your ass. Really? So this one right here, we saved you half of the work, so we didn't get to see this one come out of its old home, because a couple of days ago when I was gathering up enclosures, I actually accidentally flushed this one and it got loose in my room. I went Chicken Little just for a little bit, and then I started looking for it, moved the mattress away from the wall, and it was between the mattress and the box spring. With my experience, I was able to flush it up and out into a catch cup, and now we're going to put it in its new home, so you don't get to see its old home. Big deal, whoop-de-doo. So far, this thing has not been flighty, bolty, defensive. I don't see any fangs, yada yada. I would like to give you guys a good look at this animal, because they are actually a gorgeous species. I wouldn't personally seek them out as far as like buying them or whatever, but if you're like me, you ended up with one of these as a freebie, and you're going to give it the best care you can until you know what it is and find it a new home. So let me think on this for a second, see if I can't give you guys a better look at this thing, because you can see it's being very shy right now, and that's the 2 stages that they have: shy and run. Let's see if we can find a happy medium. So here we go, y'all. I'm dispelling all those myths about the H. maculata, the Togo starburst baboon, as being a very flighty, bolty, defensive, aggressive tarantula, which I don't believe in aggression, because they don't have enough of a brain to have aggression. But this thing, I got it down on the ground and it stopped moving. You can see why they can be popular in the hobby, because they are a visually striking tarantula, but they can be prone to very fast bolting and even being defensive. I've heard of people being bitten pretty much unprovoked. I haven't felt that threat out of this one, so I guess now that we've seen a good look at it, we'll put it up before we put anybody in danger. All right, let's move this guy into its new house. Sorry, I'm doing all this one-handed. Hang on just a second. Okay, y'all, here goes nothing. Let's put this thing in its new home. Still haven't seen a single bit of defensiveness or aggression or any propensity to bite or throw up a threat posture or anything. So once again, it shows it's all in how you interact with your animals, and this might hurt some people to say it, but I believe it. The truth hurts. If you have animals like this that have a propensity for being defensive or whatever, and they are, 9 times out of 10, it's because of how you keep them. You keep them where they are uncomfortable and they're grumpy, then yeah, they're going to have an attitude, they're going to be defensive, they're going to give you shit. Other than that, if you treat the animal with respect and give them the care that they need, as you just saw, that video could have been very crazy, very hair-raising, but it ended up being, for me, like I said, another routine rehousing. That's the extent of all the critters I have to move. I don't know when I'll have another video up, but I hope that you did enjoy this one and that you will like this video, comment on it. I don't care about subscriptions, honestly, but if you want to share this video, that's cool. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that a lot of the facts that I threw out seem to be sporadic or sometimes just random, but I do everything myself from taking care of these animals, cameraman, director, animal trainer, animal handler, producer, all of that. So there's times when I'm more focused on the animals or maybe the shot that I'm getting than what's coming out of my mouth. So if some of it seems jumbled up or a little random, I apologize. Hopefully I articulated everything enough that you learned something about these animals. Any keepers out there that are kind of new, hopefully you learned some tips today. And I just hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a fantastic day or night. God bless.